Greetings, one and all. It's Dr. Jonathan Ellerby with another live 12 at 12. And today we are going to talk about endings and beginnings and why a better or new understandings of the importance of honoring endings and beginnings is a part of a life of resilience, wellness, and deep awakening. Before we get into that, we're going to take a breath. We're going to get settled. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I'm going to encourage you to sit comfortably but alert. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. And then when you breathe out, just imagine you are releasing expectations, busyness, stress and distress, any need to reconcile the past or understand the future. Continue with that process in through the nose, down into the belly if you can imagine that or feel that, and then a long, long exhale. Use this moment just to get quiet and be present. And so a reading by John Sues. To be of the earth is to know the restlessness of being a seed, the darkness of being planted, the struggle toward the light, the pain of growth into the light, the joy of bursting and bearing fruit, the love of being food for someone, the scattering of your seeds, the decay of the seasons, the mystery of death, and the miracle of birth. So, this poem turns our attention to cycles and the awareness that all life exists and thrives by virtue of an endless symphony of beginnings and endings. Whether it's the beginning of a day, the end of the day, the beginning of a conversation, the end of a conversation, the beginning of a meal, the ending of a meal. What we come to realize is that when we are open to the oneness of life, the interdependence and interconnection of all life, we become instinctively aware of energy. That even though it may be true that E equals mc squared, and that energy is neither created nor destroyed, but merely changes form, it changes form. And that at one level of vision, we can see that all things are united in the only thing that is permanent, and that is the transcendent, eternal energy, the subtle energy that is consciousness or God or spirit. But as you settle into that awareness or belief or experience, you'll become aware of the relative reality, the energy that is not the eternal, that is not the supremely subtle, but is just the energy of the human experience moment to moment to moment. And there can be no mistake that life really is a process of energy. Integration, disintegration, arising, diminishing. Places have energy, people have energy, gatherings have energy, classes have energy, songs have energy, books have energy. Everything is energy. And one of the ways that we can bring ourselves into a greater alignment with the energy of life, one of the ways we can bring ourselves into balance with the energy of life, is to consciously, and you might say ceremoniously, acknowledge the significance of beginnings and endings. So let me give you some examples. When you sit down to eat, One of the values of having a prayer or a moment of silence, or even just waiting for everyone to be seated before you begin, is to create a transitional space between preparing or being busy or not eating and coming fully into the moment. Not eating to race to somewhere else, not eating to forget something inside, but coming to that quiet center point where we say, here is where I am, and this is what I am going to give my awareness to. This meal, this food, and what happens in that simple, mindful focus on being present with the new task at hand is that the richness of that task opens up to you. Flavors, smells, colors, textures. How many times recently have you sat down and looked at your food before eating it? I mean, really looked at the light glistening on a sauce, looking at the diversity of colors in a vegetable or a fruit, really paying attention to the texture in your mouth, really noticing each moment of the experience. And when we go into the fullness of that experience, it takes us into a relationship with the one who cooked the meal, with the ones who picked the food from the field, and even further back in time. When we finish, do we wipe our face and throw our napkin down while we run off to what's next, or dump our dirty dishes in the sink? Or do we have respect for what's happened, for the privilege, for the gift of food, for the privilege and the gift of the meal that we've just shared? The same thing could be said of a day. When we wake up, what is the first thing that enters your mind? Is it gratitude? Is it prayer? Is it presence? And if it's not, can you take hold of whatever comes up unconsciously, unintentionally, and make an intentional beginning? Feeling gratitude for the day, feeling hope for the day, or just being willing to be open and witnessing. And the same when you close the day. What about relationships? Did you create ceremonies to acknowledge the beginning of significant relationships? Typically, yes. We go out for a nice dinner, or we go to some kind of an event, or there's something else that distinctly marks that the relationship has begun. Although there are lots of relationships where people have to clarify, hey, are we in a relationship now? And that could be romantic, that could be work, that could be school, that could be a lot of things. But to consciously acknowledge the beginning of a relationship is vital. In the world of work, nothing could be more important. That we delineate one task from the next, one role from the next, new expectations, new mindset. What comes with this new beginning, whether it's a new career, a new job, or just a new day? And how do we end? Not disgruntled, not judgmental, not unconscious and just waiting to get out, but ending with purpose. Gratitude for an income, gratitude for a career, gratitude, regardless of all the things you may not want or like, for a means to sustain yourself. We can see beginnings and endings in all things. Graduations, birthdays, as I've said, relationships, work, exercise, spiritual practice, being together in classes or even informally, and how powerfully are those kinds of times of connection and gathering, how powerfully are they changed when we take time to acknowledge a beginning and an ending? In my work, for example, basically every single class that I ever teach, with few exceptions, begins just like the 12 at 12, by stopping, creating a conscious split between where I've been and what I'm doing, letting go of distraction, letting go of past and present. There's one thing before me now, and I am going to empty myself to be fully available to what it has to offer. And then, typically with classes, not so much with the 12 at 12, we close with something similar, some breath work, a reading, at the very least, a very conscientious goodbye. When we do not acknowledge the beginning and ending of things, big things, little things, and everything in between, what we discover is that energy is lost and awareness is diminished. Energy is lost. What that means is if we don't have a clear conscious experience, metaphysically and physically, of things starting and ending, then there are parts of ourselves, our minds, our emotions, and even sometimes physical aspects of our lives that remain caught up in whatever was before, or in whatever we've just completed, or those things are simply not present for what is before us. There is a cost to not acknowledging the beginning and ending of things. And more than anything, there is a psychological cost. That when we run from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, we lose the ability to truly be present with each thing, with each experience, with each person. And in that loss of presence and the ability to feel and experience fully what we're doing, we lose our relationship to life. In fact, we lose aspects of ourself. Whatever we cannot engage or fully witness or appreciate diminishes us. And whatever we can honor, hold with love in our awareness, strengthens us and brings us into a closer connection with that which has no beginning and no end. So that's it. This is our end. Thank you for your time. It's been 12. Please, if you enjoy this, I don't care when you're watching it, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube page. And please, pass this on, share it with someone who you think might benefit from this. If you'd like to know more about what I do, go to jonathanellerby.com and you can get a free copy, no strings attached. You don't even need to give me your email, of the book Spiritual Experience. All right, take care, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.